to support hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of pressure. Paracord is strung in such a way. Well, let's use the Survivor Man reference again. Bring him into the conversation. He and Bob Hansler actually have both done tutorials when it comes to weaving natural fibers. You can take a cactus leaf, beat the living hell out of it against a piece of rock until it comes apart and frays, and you pull all the fibers apart, then you weave them together. You weave lots of them together, and then you can weave those weaves into other weave conglomerates as well. You can also do the opposite if you happen to have a bundle of rope. Because what is a rope but many strings strung into braids, and the braids are woven into like a super braid, and that's a rope. There is a fractal quality about it. And I'll bet that a really bitchin' vagal nerve, a fucking master vagal nerve, I'll bet it looks like paracord. I'll bet it looks like a serpent, where you can pick out all these places where this strong, tough fiber links different parts of the cells to each other, and they're resilient. So if you stretch the nerve, if the body stretches, and these nerve endings and nerve bodies grow farther apart from each other, the connections that remain are tenacious, but also willing to relax so that they don't snap like a hard tendon in cold weather, but rather bend like a reed in the current. I think I'm describing a really healthy vagal nerve. I'm not sure. But if I had to take a crack at it, and what happens when you have a well-toned vagal nerve? All these parts of your body that are talking to each other at rates that you just cannot put into a conscious conversation with people over coffee at Starbucks. Such is the volume of information coming in that this subconsciously activatable structure, this nerve, can do what it does and be resilient and connect all these things as they move independently, seemingly independently from each other in a bit of an artistic dance, all operating together, all attending to a different domain of your homeostasis. That system is robust, and the information carried from one sector to the next. It's like when you have a really, really tight FedEx system where the mailmen and women, they know where to go, they know what to do. Crack squad, Navy SEAL, FedEx operatives, just delivering the info, carrying the letters. Everybody's in better communication. Therefore, it's easy for even more relationships between these organs and these sheets of muscle and these myofascial sheets and skin and everything, serous membranes, everything can be operating in a more robust way, each on their own, but each talking to everything else and having a conversation. It means probably that you're moving into a repaired condition when it comes to the trauma you've received. And that also means that going forward, the next time the shell goes off next to you, you might only have waking nightmares for a month and not a year. Or a day and not a month. Or you're like that ancient Tibetan shaman woman, powerful human. Tache was her name? Tache? Who ran completely clear of heinous experiences, completely with no wake, no accumulation of karma. And in so doing, people who had abused her became then reduced down to the most vulnerable parts. And in that moment, with all the power, ch3 or whatever her name was, she actually recruited and conscripted these people who became her loyal guards, her bodyguard. The most loyal bodyguards in the world at the time, probably, until they were dead. Until she died. I don't know the story. I only just learned about this in detail. I think I might have come across this story 20 years ago, 15 years ago, in my early forays into yoga. I don't remember if she was a yogini. I don't remember how long ago this story takes place. I heard about it on the Aubrey Marcus podcast. He was talking to a fellow who came out with a book. And gosh, maybe I should remember some names. I think the book might have been Find Your God Buttons. That might have been the name of the book. Wild stories in that book, apparently. From vampire BDSM clubs in New York to this shaman. Turning around and just instantly converting the most heinous and vile human beings into some of the greatest, most noble, most loyal, giving people. So say the legends, I guess. I don't know. I heard about it. I heard about the legends that were written long ago. So, what is that? Fourth-hand information? What she did, what ch3 did, was what Gabor Mate talks about when he talks about the difference between humans and ducks. And I know all about this particular image. I'll tell you something. We talk about juking people. Whoop. Okay, I touched the screen, but we're okay. We're at 1 hour and 13. Woo! Gabor Mate said, hey, here's a picture for you. There's a duck serenely chilling at a pond. Panel number 2. Picture number 2. Another duck comes near the first duck and hangs out right next to them, which agitates the first duck. He was enjoying his peace. Panel number 3. Duck number 2 leaves, leaving the first duck alone again. Panel number 4, the duck is serene again. Contrast those 4 panels with 4 human panels. Panel number 1, human being chilling back in the shade, having a nap, having a good old time, dozing. Panel number 2, human number 2 approaches human number 1 and sits near them, chomping on some chips with his mouth wide open, spraying the landscape with viscera, carbohydrates, and probably cheese product. Panel number 3. Human number 2 leaves human number 1 to their devices. Human number 1, just like duck number 1, was, for that period of time, in the presence of this interloper, to their moment, agitated. Panel number 4. This is where it goes haywire. I am not the duck. I am the man, because you know what the man does? Picture a thought cloud above person number 1's head, inside of which is a hairball of coarse, gross string, like the kind you see in the Peanuts comics. Anybody who's just like, it's that. That. God damn, that feeling. Person number 1, unlike duck number 1, is brooding. Really, it's as if person number 2 were still there, chomping on chips, because person number 1 responded very poorly to the presence of the annoying person number 2. And when person number 2 left, taking their chips and their chomping with them, person number 1 could not stop thinking thoughts like, that motherfucker. Why does he always come near me? Why does that guy keep chomping his chips near me? He does this all the time. I'll bet he'll do it again tomorrow. That mother! And cursing and grumbling to himself, he falls into a nightmare. Oh boy. How many people are duck number 1? Tetchy, that's who. The chomping has ceased, or the system-wide physical assault that she sustained at the hands of 7 dudes in the forest one night. So that's the story. She just... I don't know if it's possible for a human being to be like this, but if there was such a person that could harbor no wake, no karmic wake, no, oh, fuck these assholes for hurting me. What's wrong with them? I'm gonna lash out. I'm gonna kill them all. I'll poison them in their sleep. I'll kill their families. I'll spend the rest of my life on this moment, locked away in darkness. That's what most of us would do. But Tetchy instantly saw through the eye of the needle, instantly understood the raging, tantruming children inside these men. Instantly. They ceased to, they just ceased to affect her in that way. She was immediately composed, immediately recovered, completely serene, so says the story. And then boom, you all work for me now. The reason why I think that I found that story earlier in life is because I have this sense in the back of my head, since I'm awake-making person number 1, I feel like I've felt the feeling of coming across that story before and absolutely rejecting it. So unrealistic to me that a human being could suffer at another person's hands completely heinously and then just wash their hands of it. Immediately find the lesson in the situation, the utility, completely move on. And in the example of doing that in real time, change the face of the psychology and unravel simultaneously the knots of everyone around, as much as they were willing to be unraveled. But as these were the 7 worst people in the world, perhaps they were also in this moment for just a moment, maybe available to that level of vulnerability where their knots could be plucked at and unwoven. I don't know. But when I first came across that story, I was like, I'm going to kill these men. If I ever meet men like that, there's nothing else that's to be done. I have to kill them. They cannot be left to do this in the forest. But I've been pondering it. Wonder what Tetchy's vagal nerve is like. I wonder if I could ever have even a grain of tone, the way that she has Olympic weightlifting tone. You gotta wonder. You gotta wonder with these ancient stories. Tetchy. It might be irresponsible of me to speak on these matters, not having researched them. But what is research, right? Right now I'm talking about it and thinking about it, trying to gain and draw something from it. This is one form of research. It doesn't have to happen in a library. There doesn't have to be somebody who knows more than me right in front of me talking to me. I think those things can help, but they're just tools. Just like the stories are tools. Just like such thing as the awareness in science of a thing called the vagal nerve. Like that really points in the direction of hope for me. I love knowing that there's such a thing now. People who are hurt really, really badly, particularly really, really early, develop low vagal tone apparently, and their system discoordinates from itself, and all these things are more spiraling out on their own growing tumors and making problems. Drunkenly wielding bar stools in the fight rather than sharpening the blades and hunting down the dragons in a way that balances the ecosystem of the entire body. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. But hey, if such a thing exists as healing, you can find it in places like that after doing research like this. Maybe compiling a few different kinds of research. Practice is a form of research, isn't it? When I do Wim Hof breathing, apparently that tones your vagal nerve. Apparently it does. And also apparently breathing for longer periods of time than 6 seconds. I don't know if that means 6-second inhale, 6-second exhale, or 3 and 3. But apparently breathing very slowly tones your vagal nerve and calms it and soothes it. Now that I think about it, I guess I knew about the vagal nerve before this, and I knew it by the name vagus nerve. So maybe there's crossover there. I think it's probably the same nerve. It sounds similar in the context that I heard it earlier. I guess at this point I'm just rambling. I'm just talking about feeling. It's a very strange thing to be a person. I want to heal. I move to heal. I'm in the thinker pose again. I just realized, like last time when we were doing Sitcast. Was that yesterday? I know yesterday we did do a podcast, and the day before we did do a podcast. So, this has been... Oh my ever-loving Lord, that was a good knee pop. This has been episode 32 of Ride Along with Run Man with your host, Run Man, a.k.a. Vagal Vagrant Vegas Man. Let's go a-gambling. I'm going to now unwind the wire from my left wrist. Oh my god, yes. Unspool a little. I'm now drawing myself up to my full seated height. You are at ICAM. And we take 3 breaths, shall we? Ready? Go. Bacon and eggs. Kim ever-loving Chi. I love you. I love Techi. If I have the legend and the names right. And I love this podcast. This is ep32 ch3, I think. Chronicle 3. And this is Run Man signing off. Have a good one.